Welcome. This is the GettyInfo.com Cadillac Conversation. We do these on Thursday nights. Usually we have Cadillac Jim, Texas Jim, and some others on. Air Mike is habitually late, and so he may join us here in a moment. I like to laugh that I do videos to tell you that we're not having a video tonight when the other guys aren't on. But I'll try it. Jim did a great job of doing 30 minutes by himself last week because I was had to go on a business trip, and so I appreciate him keeping us going for the week when I was out. The big news at our house this week is I've got the XLR home, and so I'm excited about that. We had picked up our third Cadillac, a 2007 Cadillac XLR. That's the two-seat Roadster. Cadillac said the XLR stood for XLR. The L probably stood for luxury. The R probably stood for Roadster. The X is a little confusing because it may have stood for experimental, but experimental doesn't actually start with an X. It starts with an E. Or they may have been thinking about the Jaguar X series at the time, which was one of their target cars, and so Cadillac wanted to have an X series. It would have made a little more sense if they'd named it the Y LR, because the Y, it was on the Corvette Premium Y platform, or they could have named it the CLR for Cadillac Luxury Roadster. But for whatever reason, and they almost immediately reused the X in the XTS to mean, I guess the XTS was theoretically the next car in the X series for Cadillac, but not really. And then the XT5 is going to be the beginning of the crossover. So X actually is sort of, X is an abbreviation for cross, like, and sometimes X is used as an abbreviation for cross or for trans. And so X became crossover for Cadillac, but my car's not a crossover because it's a luxury roadster. So I generally refer to it as a roadster, and it's okay with me. I'm trying to be a good Cadillac owner and get used to the three-letter names that don't mean anything. But so that's the story there. So I had bought the car. It's a local car. I was shopping for cars and looking around the country, and I saw this car pop up, and they had it on eBay. Sent them a note, but I saw that they were local. I sent them a note and asked if I could come have a look at it. They said, sure, let's set up a time. And of course, I wanted to go do that before the auction ended. So we set up a time and went over and looked at it. It had a couple of minor issues, as you would expect. It's a 2007 car, so it's not a brand new car. And that's kind of one of the things I thought about when I was setting my budget is, you can get a brand new Mustang convertible for 30 or 35,000. So I was a little shy about spending more than that for an 8-year-old car if you get a brand new convertible. Of course, an XLR is very different from a Mustang convertible, has different features, and I'm a Cadillac guy and would certainly want the Cadillac convertible instead. Cadillac's probably got a convertible ATS coming. It may be coming in 2017, which would mean in 2018 or 2019 it would be primed to come to my driveway after it's been out on the road for a bit and had an opportunity to depreciate a bit. So that's out of my time frame to wait another 4 years. And I like the whole XLR concept. I like a shorter wheelbase car. I like the Corvette platform. I like the North Star engines. And to me, the concept of a V8 Roadster is perfect. I had an antique replica of a classic car, and that my late father had left me, and so I sold that for it went off to do parade duty, and then put that money away in my car account, and then went shopping for an XLR. And Air Mike encouraged me to go get an XLR-V, but there were some things about the XL. They traded some things between the XLR and the XLR-V, and just the fact that it's a V8 convertible, I don't have to have V8 Roadster. I don't have to have the 100 more horsepower from the XLR-V. So I went to look at this car, and it was blue. I'd had a silver 2004 CTS, and then a silver 2005 CTS, and now I've got a silver 2008 STSV. And so I really didn't want another silver Cadillac. And they made a ton of these that were silver and a ton of these that were black, but they didn't make very many other colors. But this one is blue. It's a xenon blue, which is a beautiful color. Let me see if I can, I'll do a screen share so that I can show you, a image of the car. So you're going to see some mechanics here, and I apologize for that. But so that's what the car looked like from the eBay ad. So this is one of the pictures that attracted me to the car. It's a xenon blue XLR. It has 18-inch wheels, which is what they came with in 2007. It's got these little crash protection roll bars over the seats. The XLR had this wooden bit on the steering wheel, which the XLR-V didn't. The XLR-V, they said it needed the more grippy all-leather steering wheel. That's what they said for the STSV anyway, so I assume the XLR-V was the same way. 2007, GM put the little GM chiclet here behind the doors. It has recessed electric doors, so you reach your fingers in here and touch the pad, and the door opens. It releases the door, and then you can pull the door open. It is a hardtop convertible, which means it's all automated. But with the engine running, you get in the car and you press one button. This rear deck flips up, and the rear hood, the rear trunk comes up, and then the top comes up out of the trunk and attaches to the car. And so it is kind of a fun transformer kind of experience to watch. When it's doing it, it takes about 30 seconds. So not nearly as quick as some modern ragtop convertibles are, but you get the benefit. The benefit of a hardtop is when you have the top up, it's just like a normal car. You have very good sound insulation. The disadvantage is it takes up more room in the trunk. And so the XLR has very low trunk space. And so that makes it a challenge as a daily driver or as your only car. But I was getting it as a weekend car and run to Starbucks to pick up coffee for my wife car and go to Sunday school and so on. And so it's perfect for that it has room for a duffel or a fridge pack of sodas. And that's about all. It has 4 cubic feet of space with the top down. Now, you can put the top up and use the whole trunk. So if you were traveling, there is a way to do that. But if we were traveling, I would probably choose to take one of the other Cadillacs instead. The 3 Cadillacs we got, my wife has a 2013 ATS, 2-liter turbo premium. I have the 2008 STSV. And now we have the 2007 XLR. Now my cars do, my STSV, now that we have the XLR, that'll probably tide me over for keeping the STSV another year or two. But, and that may be long enough to go from the STSV to an ATSV. The ATSV would really suit me. Although if they come with an ATS-V Sport that's a little less expensive with approximately, with similar power, so it has a 420 horsepower LF3, then that may make a challenging car to pass up on, is if they manage to bring the ATS-V Sport. But it could be that this will get me in the range to where I can wait for the ATS-Vs to get out and have an opportunity to pick one of those up as a replacement for my STSV. That the XLR may give me, kind of that buffer that would let me go from one to the other. So we got the XLR home. There was when we were doing a test drive, it had ABS light on. Sometimes not. The XLRs were kind of prone to this, along with the Corvettes, that they had a relatively sensitive EBCM brake control module and traction control system. So it could have been, there were a number of different things. Sometimes the solution was a recalibration. Sometimes the solution was wheel sensors. Sometimes the solution was, there are a wide variety of things that can happen with these. Well, there's Air Mike. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm having a hard time getting here once again.
Oh my goodness. Well, there are many ways to get online with us, and I know this is confusing. Air Mike's one of the people that I actually send an invitation to. But if you're watching at home and you want to be on with us, contact me somehow and let me know that, and I will work with you. One of the things I discovered tonight is there's actually an invitation that we can send you where you can just call on your phone, and that gets you in too. So welcome, Mike. I was just doing a long solo on the XLR and how much I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad you're liking it.
Yeah, thank goodness, because they cashed the check, I think. But we're getting a little bit of static. Do you hear that on my end too, or am I just hearing that from you?
I don't hardly hear anything other than your voice.
Okay, so we'll go with it and see. So when we test drove the XLR, it had a traction control and was talking about this, and the StabiliTrak was disabled. So I kind of took that into account when we were talking about the money, and then it needed to be inspected. So I took it over to Crest Cadillac. Crest Cadillac's one of our Caddy Info sponsors. Took it over to Crest Cadillac and said, hey, can you do the inspection? Can you change the oil? Can you do the transmission? To give me a whole maintenance package and look at this light. And I took them over to TSBs from the XLR site, right? And everything I could find that had to do with StabiliTrak and traction control. So I took all that over to them and said, what do you think? And I wish I hadn't. I love Crest and they're nice guys, but after you buy a car, you know what you want to do with it? You want it in the driveway, right? You want to go play with it. And so I was going out of town, and I said, I could take it over there and they can fiddle with it while I'm out of town. And but yeah, I kind of wish I just kept it home for a minute, but now anyway, so the story has a happy ending. But I took it over there, and they looked at it, and they said, yeah, it was showing 5 different codes. But so we cleared the codes, and we took it out for a test drive, and it immediately said, the EBCM is dead. So they ordered and we'll have to order an EBCM because we don't have one on the shelf, and it'll be here overnight, and I'll call you tomorrow. So I said, okay, great. I'm on the road anyway. So now if you get the car done after I get back, then that's fine. So they got the EBCM in and the electronic brake control module. So they got it in, and this thing has to be programmed because it has to be tuned specifically to each car to the setup in the car. So they went to program the new one that they got in, and it wouldn't program. Brand new off the shelf, but it's broken, right? So they said, okay, we got to order another new one. So, but now it's Saturday. So by the time now it's Friday. So they said, okay, we're going to overnight another new one and have it here Saturday, and then I'll call you back Saturday. So of course they didn't get the part Saturday. It didn't sound like they ordered the part Friday. So we get to Monday, and I said, what's going on with the car? And they said, well, we're going to get the part in Tuesday, and then I'll call you. So, but they got the part in Tuesday. The new EBCM programmed up, and everything was everything. But so I spent Saturday sitting by my phone waiting for them to call so I could go get my car. And then Sunday I spent worried that I'm going to get a story after they get the new EBCM that there's something wrong with the PCM, and the car can't program, or that there's 3 other things wrong. But they got the second EBCM in, it programmed just fine. They finished all the different maintenance things that we had talked about, and they called me and said, the 4 words that help every Cadillac owner relax. They called me and said, "Your XLR is ready." And so I ran right over and picked the car up that evening. My poor wife was sick, and bless her heart, she had been sick all afternoon. And I said, and I was out picking up dinner because she wanted some soup to help her with her throat. But I said, honey, they just called and the Cadillac's ready. And she didn't even blink an eye. She said, "Okay, bring the food home and we'll eat as fast as we can, and I'll take you over there so you can get the car." So, because I'm thinking, well, she's not feeling well, so I'll probably just take my STSV down there and park it at the dealership, and then I'll go back and get it when I have somebody feeling better to go with me to get it and so on. But anyway, so we went and picked it up, and it's doing great. We did get a chance the very first day we got it. We took it out to dinner and had the top down and went out on the highway. 101 degrees out that day, and it was just fine with the air conditioning blowing, super fast, and the cooled seats, and it was just comfortable even in the 100-degree Texas heat, and with the top down. And of course, we both enjoy roadsters anyway. So now let me do this quick comparison with my Duke Roadster that I had before, the classic, the antique replica of a classic. The main difference is when I take the XLR out on the highway, I don't wonder if I'm going to die. I think that's the most significant difference between the two. And the fact that it has roll-up windows. It weighs more than the Duke did, which is a performance disadvantage, but it has the V8 engine, 320 horsepower, dual overhead cam, variable valve time V8 engine. So it kind of makes up for the extra weight. So it weighs 800 pounds more, but it has 2.5 times more horsepower. So it weighs 30% more, but it has 2.5 times more horsepower. So I think that's a good performance increase.
That's a good trade.
Yeah, that's a good trade. Now, Mike drives an XLRV, so he kept cheering for go get an XLRV. I was kind of shopping. What I'd done is I kind of narrowed it down to, if I found an XLRV, here's how much I'd be willing to pay. And if I found a XLR, here's how much I'd be willing to pay. And kind of the trade-off to me is I'm still budgeting for my next other Cadillac, right? And so in the back of my mind, if I spent more on this car, then that delayed or it reduced how much I could spend on the other Cadillac. And so, life's a series of trade-offs. But so far, the power, getting out of my STSV and into this, so I've been kind of driving them. So Wednesday, I drove the XLR. Thursday, I drove the STSV today. And tomorrow, I'll drive the XLR because it's Friday. But it has good enough pickup that I don't feel like, I wish I was in the. Now, the main difference is the STSV, you cannot put that car on the floor for very long and in town, right? I mean, if I floor the STSV away from a light, then there's rubber and there's smoke and there's the XLR without the supercharger, you can floor it to get around, and it's not more performance than you can use. So, but yeah, the STSV definitely has more pull to it because of the other 180 horsepower.
I'm sure it runs good enough.
Yeah. Well, so far so good. So I've got to figure out a front license plate. I don't have a good plan there. I'm not sure if I want. First, I need to go search the car and see if there's one stuck in there somewhere, because there could be one in the trunk or in one of the nooks or crannies. Now, tell me about. There's the seats, and there's a center console between the seats that you can open up, and there's the panel over the cup holder, but there's some kind of knob that you push in and pulls out in between the seats back up here on the where the back of the seats are. What is that?
Just another storage bin. about where your shoulders are.
How do you open it?
You push that button and then turn it, I believe.
Okay. Because there's a button that you push in and it kind of pulls out, and then there's like a latch or something up here above it. And
I just have to go look, I guess. That's where I found my tool to open the top.
Yeah, now I found that in the glove box. There's a big, and it looks like a big Allen head wrench, right?
Right.
Yeah, so there's a manual crank that they give you in case the electric top's not electric sometime, that they give you a crank so that if you get stuck with the top up or with the top midway down, you can fix it. So yeah, I was laughing about that because I've been running the top up and running the top down and running the top up, and I thought, maybe I shouldn't do that when I'm away from home or when I'm, until I see what the providence of this is. I have had to put the cargo divider back in place a couple of times. And so my cargo divider may have to be replaced, or the latches on the sides that hold the cargo divider, or it may just not be tucked in right or something. In order to protect the top, there's a cargo divider that separates where you can put cargo from where the top goes. And so if that cargo divider is not in place, the top won't go down in order to keep you from taking a chance on smashing the top. And so on mine, I've gotten messages a couple of times that the cargo divider wasn't in place. And so I got out and opened the trunk and clicked it back in place and closed the trunk and got back in and lowered the top.
I wonder if those sensors just need cleaned or something.
Well, but the cargo divider was literally out of place when I got there. So that makes me think that it's not tucked in right, or it's not, I think, the cargo divider has, I can't do my hands the right way. It has slots like this that fit into a thing, but then down at the bottom, it actually has round eyelets that slot into pegs in the carpet, right?
Right. Those don't have anything to do with the top going up and down, though. The two at the bottom don't.
But I think if those pegs are not done at the bottom, then it makes it easier for the top to slide out.
Probably.
In other words, it needs those retainers put in place so the top doesn't slide out. So the electronic sensor, so the pegs don't slide out of the electronic sensors.
So your little grommets at the bottom don't fit tight?
I think they will. They're just not. The previous owner didn't have it knocked the cargo cover out of place. It's not inserted correctly. It's just sitting loose. The grommets at the bottom aren't done up. I think I just need to do up the grommets at the bottom, and then it'll have an easier time staying in place. Because right now, if you go too fast, it'll slide out of those slots. And I've been hot rodding around trying to see how fast is it. And so it's sliding out of those slots sometimes.
Right.
But other than that, I hadn't even been through half a tank of gas yet. So I'm not getting enough miles on the car. I will take it out at the drop of a hat, and I've got to dance my cars around to get it a straight runway, right? Because we've got 3 cars in a 2-car garage. But yeah, I'm having the big time with it so far, and it looks gorgeous. As I started to say before you logged in, so Cadillac made about 16,000 XLRs from 2004 to 2009, right? 15,000 or 16,000?
Right, that sounds right.
Yeah, so they made about 1,500 in 2007. This was a 2007 model. Of those, 66 of them were this blue, the xenon blue. Of those, 16 of them had the black interior. And 10 of them were the normal XR like mine, and 6 of them were the V. And so there weren't very many of these blue ones for whatever reason. I think people really love the black one in the XLRV. Now yours is black, right?
Black, yes.
Yeah, I think that was the most popular, is people like that sinister, serious roadster look.
I think the black was popular and the red was pretty popular.
Yeah. Now, that's one thing that they didn't do with the STSV is they only came out with pretty muted executive colors for the STSV. You could get like mine in the platinum, and they had like a gray, and They had very, no bright, flamboyant colors. They really thought of it, I think, as an executive express. And so they were selling it to, a button-down crowd. Except they offered the Tango red interior, which was the mix of black and red, which I loved. I would have bought a car with 10,000 more miles if it had the Tango red interior.
That was a two-tone?
Yeah, it was a two-tone black and red. Right. And it looked, I love that look. And that's something I look for in one of my future Cadillacs is I like the two-tone interiors, when they're very contrasting colors.
Right. I've seen that color in some of them cars somewhere, and I liked it.
Yeah, it was a very dramatic color that when people would see the car, they would know, hey, this is not muted. I'll look and see if I can. So Cadillac had more discussion this week from the dealer meetings about what they're trying to do with the brand. Yeah, let me see if I can put screen sharing on for a moment. I'll just put screen sharing on for a moment, and then I will, and then we'll be back to our conversation. So start screen sharing, and now, here it is, the Tango red interior. So yeah, it was contrasting red and black. And I always thought that looked very dramatic.
When I was looking for XLR, I saw a car in Florida that somebody had done like that.
Which makes you suspect that something went bad with the interior, right? On the XLR, if they'd redone the interior, then something happened to the original interior?
Well, it was pretty low miles. I mean, it's possible, but maybe somebody just wanted to customize it a little.
And I'm for that if people do, but that's what I worry when I was shopping for a used car. Is I did see one that had a very custom interior where they redone the leather and the seats and so on. But that's what I worried, is that it had been gutted along the way, and so they had to redo it. But you're right; it may have just been custom done. So some people would do that. They'll spend an arm and a leg getting the car exactly the way they want it, and then sell it, because they're, once they get it perfect, then they're done with it, right? It's not a project anymore.
I have a buddy that's bought a couple of cars, and the very first thing he did with them was get the interior changed to whatever it is he liked.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Now, Cadillac has said they're wanting to state their financial results separately from GM within the GM financials, and that Cadillac is the main source of profit for GM, that they're an outside source of profit for GM, and so they would like their critics to just hush up because they're making a ton of money. Which, so when you criticize Cadillac and you say, gosh, if y'all had more if you had a smaller and a bigger SRX, and if you had more Escalades on the lot, you could make a ton more money. I guess I see their point, that if they're already making a ton of money, then it's not a fair criticism, right?
Right.
I mean, it's, we talk a lot about they're not selling 300,000 cars a year like they did back in the day, but if they're making more money, then bless them. And they have gotten their average transaction price is up. It's only second to Mercedes, I think, among luxury vehicles. Now, Cadillac did say today that they're expanding, or the rumors are that they're expanding production at Arlington, and so that'll let them get more Escalades and Yukons out. The Escalade has been production constrained. They can't make enough of them for how many people want to buy. And so they don't have enough days. You need something like 30 or 40 sales days worth of trucks on the lot is ideal on your dealers. And the Escalades have gone down to like 1 or 3 or something. As soon as Escalades get to the dealership, they're selling on average.
So they have the same problem Dodge has with the Hellcat.
Oh yeah, the Hellcat was sold out completely, right? I love that when you can say, sorry, not taking any more orders. We've sold out this year, and some of the orders we took already were turning down or turning into next year. they had to do that with the Z28s too for Chevrolet, but yeah, I think they were production constrained on the Hellcats because they only planned to make like 2,000 of those engines, and so after they got to 2,000, they're done. But they're going to expand that next year and make, I don't know, 3,000 or something. But it's not going to be huge. Now, 10 years from now, if the oil prices turn around again, you can get a Hellcat for nothing, right? That's what happened back in the day with the muscle cars. Is the oil embargo came and there were gas lines and the muscle cars were worthless. You could get a muscle car for nothing. Now they're valued treasures for the baby boomers, but back in their day they were big, thirsty, inefficient monster cars that nobody wanted anymore.
Right. Those muscle cars today, whatever you call them, like the Hellcats and whatever, not the Hellcats, but a lot of them fast cars are still getting pretty good gas mileage.
Yeah, and it's all relative, right? That a car that makes 700 horsepower, if it gets in the high teens or the low 20s, that's amazing. You know, that it gets more than 8 miles per gallon is amazing.
Right.
So it's all relative that we're spoiled these days because cars do everything. They have high power, they're safe, they corner well. The Hellcat corners great. You know, people want to say, oh, that's a big heavy car and it'll go in a straight line, but it won't corner. But they actually corner very well. It pulls like 0.9 Gs or 0.89 Gs or something. And so, which is better than sports cars used to do in the 80s. You know, I had a 944, which is considered one of the best handling Porsches at the time, right? Very well balanced. And so my car will corner better than my 944 would, and the Hellcat will corner better than 944 would. You know, just in the, since I've been buying cars, the things have improved that much. So.
Hey, you know, those comparisons that you put on Caddy Info between the Corvette and the other cars, that was pretty interesting.
Well, I'm glad you're liking that. I'm really enjoying those, and that's now I'm not going to be able to call them out, but somebody was doing that series where they were pulling old cars and running comparisons and posting it up to YouTube. And so, but go to Caddy Info, look in the off topic because but they did a oh no, that was our friends at IAHS. IAHS was on with us last night for Motorama, which is interesting. That's the Insurance Institute Highways. Edmunds did a Camry versus Corvette. For some reason, somehow Edmunds got this 1966 Corvette. Somebody let them have their 1966 Corvette for a long-term test. I don't know who would be insane enough to do that with their 66 VAT, but somebody took their 66 VAT and loaned it to Edmunds and said, now they're doing all kinds of tests. But don't miss the fact that even though he's driving the 66 and he's saying, you know, it doesn't corner as well as the modern cars and it doesn't accelerate as well as the modern cars and it has these, you know, it doesn't brake as well, but he's having a ball when he's driving the 66 Corvette, right?
Right.
And then when he's driving the modern cars, he's like, yeah, okay, it's, you know, I'm driving this. It's like, so it's like he's
but he's just driving it, not enjoying it.
Yeah, exactly. And so he has a fantastic time driving the 66. And even if it doesn't put up the same numbers, it's more fun to drive than a modern Econobox. And so don't miss that. When you're actually enjoying cars is about passion. It's not about, you know, the numbers help us understand the cars, but it's about the passion. And so don't be fooled into driving a boring car. You know, cars come in all different price ranges. And so find a car that, you know, speaks to your soul and makes you smile when you drive it, because otherwise you're letting yourself down, right?
Like the Cadillac that commercial. Does your car turn you on?
Exactly. Exactly. When you turn your car on, does it return the favor? And so if you're, it's like dating somebody where you don't have that chemistry there, right? Then don't do that, right? Go find somebody that you think is amazing and that thinks that you're amazing. And so cars are the same way, that don't settle for a car that you think is boring or you think is utilitarian. Go find a car that excites you, because you're going to spend way too much time in the car to be bored. So that's tonight's car advice. That's
Yes.
Don't settle. Don't settle. There's a car out there for you. Keep looking. So, Mike, what I have talked and talked and talked. What do you know that's going on in the Cadillac world?
I don't know anything about the Cadillac world. I just go to work.
and plan and shop for more cars. Now, what's the next car you're going to replace?
I don't think I replace my cars. I just go get another one.
You just add.
Yeah.
You just add cars. I think, Mike, you've got the same shelves behind you that I've got behind my monitor.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was looking at that and I thought, well, is that in my place or is that in his place? But
I bet there's some kind of violet purple, though.
Oh, no, mine are kind of a brass tone. But, mine are in a computer room, like a dedicated room for me.
Right. This was the kids' room.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was a kid's room another day, but the kids have moved out, so.
Right, we had to get rid of the kid.
Exactly, and then you got room for the computer.
Right.
So you don't actually sell your cars, you just gather more.
Right, that's what I like. I hate selling a car. I like my cars.
Yeah.
Like I had that Trans Am, sold it to my daughter 3 years later. I bought it back.
And you still managed to drive each one of them some?
Oh, yes. I just trade off. I even have my motorcycle out today.
Now, tell me about your motorcycle. I know you've told us your motorcycle before, but recite it again.
It's an 84 GS 1150. Fastest one you could buy in 84.
So it has a little pickup to it?
Yeah, it ran 1120 quarter mile. It
So,
did, it doesn't anymore.
So that's your challenge for your XLRV, right? To get it to 1120?
Well, that'd be awesome, but it isn't.
Now, can you do 1120 on your motorcycle?
Oh, I did 1120 on my motorcycle.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So that's not just a magazine number. That's because running a quarter mile on the motorcycle is a physical feat, right?
Right. My motorcycle was supposed to run 1120 in the quarter, but it wouldn't do that when I bought it. I put a header and K&N and rejetted it and changed the sprocket so I could run that fast. I'm probably not good enough to drive it that fast,
Well, one of the things my friend said after he got into motorcycle racing was he had to learn over again how to ride his motorcycle for racing. In other words, there were all new skills for quarter mile racing, and that's one of the things he talked about was just the physicality of it, right? That if you're launching with that many G's, you got to learn how to hold on to the bike a different way.
Yeah, my buddy went over there with me one day, and he wanted to ride it through the quarter mile. He didn't think I was doing good enough, so this was before I put a new sprocket and all this on it. He promptly ran a 13 something rather in the quarter. Something pretty embarrassing.
and for those of you watching at home, a 13 is supercar territory, but not super bike territory. And so the motorcycles run the quarter mile much quicker generally than bikes do, than the cars do, because they have a much better power to weight ratio. Now out on a curvy road, do you think you could do better in your XLRV or on your motorcycle?
Probably the Cadillac, because I'm chicken.
Yeah, because you're not willing to lay the bike down its side to go around the corner, right? That's what I remember about chasing my friend through a curvy road in the Porsche was the Porsche could actually do well enough around the corners to stay, it couldn't come close to him on the straightaways, but around the corners. The other thing is in top speed, sometimes the cars will do well enough in top speed that they'll go as fast as the biker's willing to go.
Yeah, the new bikes are just way too fast. So.
Yeah. Now you have the D3 tune on your XLRV, so does it still have a speed limiter?
I can't tell you. I didn't first I didn't buy the Cold Air, the tune new. I bought them secondhand.
Yeah.
So I didn't ask all them questions or find out some of that stuff. And all I know is it will go over 150. And after that, I just let off. I don't know. Yeah. My wife has a Mustang GT 11. And I went 150 in it one day, and then the computer wouldn't let it go any faster. So the next day, I got the Cadillac out, and I'm thinking...
on a closed course in Mexico.
Well, yes. Of course, it better go faster than a dang Mustang. And when it went faster than a Mustang, I was happy I done quit it.
Marked it done. Yeah, the XLRs were electronically limited to 155. So I think after I get mine settled down, then I'll use 4 more credits on my HP tuners and see what we can do to fix that. But I want to just leave everything alone and get used to it first. Although I would like to, right now is when I'd like to run some baseline stuff. So I'll probably do. Remember when I was doing my SCSV and doing a whole bunch of tests? I'll probably do some things like that where I do videos of acceleration runs and so on, so we can see what horsepower and torque the engine's reporting, baseline stock, everything factory original with 40,000, 45,000 miles.
But I really enjoyed keeping up with that stuff you were doing, because so many people don't, and all the reported horsepower and whatever is from the people that are selling you something.
Exactly. And what I found right along, I started doing some tests on my 96 SDS, and then went on my CTSs and my SCSV. There's 2 things that I found that were the most remarkable. The biggest improvement you can make in 0 to 60 time is learn how to drive your car.
Right.
That's number one, that if you don't take it out and actually measure it 0 to 60, you don't know what's going on, and you're much worse than you think you are. But the other thing is things that you think have made a good improvement. If you're not measuring it, you don't know. There's a terrific placebo effect where
sometimes noise just tricks you.
Absolutely. And so what you have to do is you have to get a gadget, or you have to figure out a way to measure what the actual improvement is. The other thing I'll say about that is if you actually look at simulations, there are circumstances in which you can add 20 more horsepower to a car and it slows it down. That you have to look at the current package, the wheel spin that you're getting, and understand what's happening before you can understand. So if you're just going by 0 to 60 time and you say, I'm going to measure 0 to 60, and then I'm going to change the air filter, then I'm going to measure 0 to 60 time. So if it goes up or goes down and that's the only fact then you don't really know what's happened. That you actually have to measure, first of all the way through the run, but you have to understand what happened 0 to 10 between the 2 runs, and then what happened at each of the different increments, and what happened overall. Because as I say, you can increase the power of the car and increase the 0 to 60 time at the same time if you're not careful, and because sometimes you have to get past a barrier of how quick you can get to red line in each gear, and how long it takes to shift, and all the different factors that go into getting the car off the line and up to 60 or 70 or whatever you're using to measure. Now, I was interested because I think the XLRs have wideband oxygen sensors on them. Is that what you think?
I don't know.
Because and this is kind of a weird. A normal oxygen sensor only measures whether you're richer or leaner than ideal, and that's all it tells you. So it sits there and it says richer, 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 leaner, 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 richer, leaner, leaner, richer, leaner, and it constantly flickers. And what the computer does is it uses that to add more fuel or take away fuel in order to get the reading to where it wants. What a wideband oxygen sensor does is it actually will measure and repeat back to the computer, okay, it's running 15.2, 15.3, 13.9, and so it gives a better air fuel ratio input. But generally cars use narrowband oxygen sensors because they're cheap, and not wideband oxygen sensors, which have been expensive and harder to keep running for 100,000 miles. But I think what I read is that Cadillac used wideband oxygen sensors on the LH2s. I don't know if they did on the LC3s, but on the LH2s, now sometimes when they say they use wideband sensors, that's not really what they meant. They just mean that it's operating in a slightly wider band than a normal sensor, but not really a wideband sensor. But we'll see. But if it really does have wideband sensors on it, that will make better air fuel and a better air fuel reading, and then we'll actually tell more about the output of the car. I may end up having to get a new laptop to run my new tests, but we'll see. Because my old laptop, when I was doing that a lot, it's disintegrated, I think, but we'll see. That may be an excuse to get another laptop. I've gone to tablets for everything and iPhones, and this won't run HP tuners. Unfortunately, you have to have a laptop. So, and I apologize. I still hear a crackle on the audio, and so I apologize if that ends up on our video. But we'll figure that out for next time. Mike, anything else you want to share tonight?
No, glad you got your XLR. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
And I'll have more. There's a ton of pictures of the XLR on Caddy Info. If you go to Caddy Info, where you want to, there's actually a subforum. It's a little bit hard to find, but we put the specific car subforums down toward the bottom of the page. There's a subforum called Supporters Cadillacs. And then within that, you can click on Bruce's 2007 Xenon Blue XLR. And then there's articles and posts and pictures and so on specifically about my XLR if you want to follow along the story so far there. And I also started a new thing this week. A lot of times I'll see an interesting article and tweet it or retweet it. And sometimes I'll make a specific topic on Caddy Info about the article and comment. Other times I don't. And so what I'm trying to do now is when I'm catching those Cadillac related news articles, that I'm going to stick them in a specific specific topic on Caddy Info that just has Cadillac related tweets of the day, so that it's like one. It's kind of like a newspaper then about Cadillac stories, if you see what I mean. So can you flip to that, Mike, and I'll show you what I mean?
Well, I'll have to open up a new page.
So it's on the trending index now on the View New Content. It's called Caddy Info Cadillac Tweetables 2015-08-13.
Yeah, I saw those earlier, and I didn't click on any because I was busy trying to get on
now,
on the forum.
But does that make sense to you to do it that way, where you can kind of see, here's different articles I saw, so it kind of makes a little Cadillac newspaper sort of thing, right?
Right. Which one was it?
It's called Caddy Info Cadillac Tweetables 2015-08-13. It's on the What's New. It's also in the main Cadillac forum.
Right. Right. Look like right headers. I hadn't clicked on any yet. There's one I'll click on it.
Yeah, so each one down in the body of it, generally it has, here's the link to the article, but that way you can kind of see. So I think that works in the forum environment. It takes a second to get it set up that way, but I think that'll work, and it lets you, if we did that on some periodicity, and the same thing, if you saw something on Twitter that you wanted to repeat, then it's easy to just grab the code and paste it in as HTML, and then you get this kind of tweet formatting.
Yeah, I just clicked on the CTS, the heads cam package.
There you go. So as soon as you get your CTSV, you know which mods to get.
Yeah, it took me to a YouTube video of
them dynoing the car. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing how much power they're getting from that LSA engine. That it's really, really mod friendly that way. So Mike, thank you for being on. Thanks to those of you watching from home. Any final words for our viewers?
Hope to see Jim. I'd like to see Texas Jim again.
Yeah, I'm missing those guys. And big shout out to Cadillac Jim, to Texas Jim, to Vinny, to KHE, Kevin, to our friend Tim Carroll at Carroll Custom Cadillac. Hey, come let's have dinner and I'll show you my new register when you have time, when you can get out of the shop a minute. Good to see you on, Mike. Hold on just a second. I'll hit stop broadcast. If you ever want to, we do these on Thursday nights. If you want to be on with us and talk about Cadillacs, then all you have to do is let me know that that's what you want to do, and we'll figure out and we can help you with. We use simple $100 cameras, and you can use a $15 headset. You can actually use your phone, and I've done that on occasion when Jim was hosting. Is I've just used my phone, and you can do Google Plus Hangouts on your phone, and then all you have to do is talk into the phone, and it does video back and forth. You want to be on your Wi-Fi, but you can actually use your phone to be here in the Hangout with us. And you can also participate as a text-only chat by putting Q&A, or there's multiple ways to participate. We can give you a phone number that you call, and then you can talk on the phone and be in the chat. I haven't done that, but apparently there's a way to do that. I don't know why you'd want to do that instead of the video chat, but apparently there's a way to do that if you wanted to. Anyway, thank you for visiting with us, Mike. Thank you for being on. Stand by, and I'll hit stop broadcast, and we'll be offline for a minute.